Doing section 3.3 today. 3.3 is going to be very easy because you guys have already done, you've already done inequalities, right? So an inequality is where we have like a dotted or solid line and we shaded above or below. All right, now it's going to be a system of inequalities. All right, so it says a set of two or more linear equations with the same variables, so like x and y, that's going to be a system of inequalities. Do the coordinates satisfy y is greater than 2x minus 3 and x minus y is greater than -1? So we're going to look at both of those equations. And in order for it to satisfy the system, it needs to work in both of them. All right, so if I plug in 0, 0, I get 0 is greater than -3, and I get 0 is greater than -1. This one's true, so yes, it satisfies the entire system. All right, so then the next one, if I do y is greater than 2x minus 3 and x minus y is greater than -1, if I plug in 0, or if I plug in 3 for x and 1 for y, I get 1 is greater than 3. Okay, that's false. So then it doesn't satisfy the system. Does that make sense? You don't even have to try the other one. Yep. All right, so it says graph the following systems of inequalities. All right, the other class wanted colored pencils. Let me pass off some colored pencils real quick. They like their notes to look good. Did I forget to press record anyway? No, I didn't. Okay. All right, so we have two inequalities. So we're going to graph both of them. And we're going to graph them on the same grid. So this is why I said colored pencils might be useful, so you can shade one in one color and the other in the other color. So it says graph the following system. Okay, so the first one I have y is less than x minus 5. So for that, my y-intercept is -5, so I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and draw a point. And my slope is 1, so up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1, up 1, right 1. All right, it's going to be a dotted line. A lot of people missed that on the test. They had a solid line. They missed a point, so be careful. So it's dotted. So dot your line in. And its y is less than. So when we have the y by itself, if I see less than, it's going to be shading below the line. So I'm going to shade this way. Now, if you aren't sure, you can always check a point. So check a point that's not on the line, like 0, 0. And you'd have 0 is less than -5, which is false. 0 is not less than -5. So this point right here, 0, 0, would not be shaded. So it's not in your final answer. Okay, so the next one, y is greater than or equal to -2x plus 3. So now your y-intercept is 3. You're going to go down 2, right 1, down 2, right 1. All right, and now it's going to be solid. Oops. All right, we want everything greater than or equal to, so it's going to be above the line. So your final shaded region is going to be right here. So kind of make that a little bit darker. Now, some of you are excellent shaders, and you shade very lightly on the first two, and then you fill it in darker on the last one. Now, in the last class, they asked, do I have to shade the first two? Can't you just shade the final region? That's fine. If you just want to shade the final overlapping area, that's fine as well. All right, next up. So I have x plus y is less than 1. So I'm going to solve it for y. So I'm going to have y is less than -x plus 1. Your y-intercept is 1, and your slope is -1. So go down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. All right, it's a dotted line. All right, and then we shade below because it's y is less than. So less than means below the line. Okay, so we're going to shade this way. Now you could always pick the point, 0, 0. If you had 0 and you plug it in, you get 0 is less than 1, which is true. So 0, 0 is in the shaded portion, which we have. All right, this other one, so I have 2x minus y is greater than 2. So I'm going to subtract the 2x over. All right, I divide by -1. I always call that the red flag rule. Remember, if you divide by -1, you flip the sign. So it's going to be less than. So I have y is less than 2x minus 2. So you're going to go down to -2, and your slope is +2. So up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1. All right, and this time it's dotted as well. Right, it's y is less than 2x minus 2. So this would be a perfect example of why picking a point is good. If you pick a point in the original, you get 0 is greater than 2, which is false. So 0, 0 is not shaded. So if you had forgotten to flip your sign, that would save you. Right, if you plugged in a point into the original, you would get the shading correct. So y is less than does mean below, but if you had forgotten to flip your sign, then you would miss it. Be careful. All right, so your final shaded region is going to be right here. Kind of messy. All right, next up. Okay, now we have multiple inequalities. Okay, so the first one I have y is less than or equal to negative x. All right, that has a slope of -1 and a b value of 0. Right, that is in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So you start at 0, 0, and your slope is -1. So go down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. All right, that's going to be your solid line there. You have a solid line. It's a little wobbly. And we want everything less than or equal to. So we cannot plug in 0, 0 for this one, because 0, 0 is on the line. So I always pick a point that's definitely not on the line. Like maybe up here, like 0, 5. If I plug in 0, 5, I get 5 is less than or equal to -0. So 5 is less than or equal to 0 is false. 5 is bigger than 0, right? So that means we shade in this direction. Now, that's why I always say, if you have y is less than or equal, just know you shade below. So you don't have to do the whole pick a point that's not 0, 0. All right, the other one. So if y is greater than x. So again, that has a slope of 1 and the y-intercept is 0. So I'm going to go up 1, right 1 from 0, 0. All right, and this is dotted. All right, and now it's everything it's greater than x. So it's going to be everything above. Man, we have a lot of shading. So right now we're in the left part of the x shape. So we have an x shape that's created. We're in the left portion of the x shape. Okay, now the last thing, when you see absolute values, you guys are probably thinking it's a V shape. So that was only when y was equal to or less than or equal to or whatever the absolute value of x. This is just a number. Absolute value of y is less than 3. That's not going to be a V shape. So if you think about it, so back when we first learned absolute values in chapter 1, if I had the absolute value of y is less than 3, I broke it into two pieces. I said absolute value of y is less than 3. And I also said y is greater than -3. You remember that? And I talked briefly about Go LA, how I had a student that learned it that way. Greater than means or, less than means and, so there's an and in between. Or the way I always said is if it's pointed, so if you have an arrow that points in towards the absolute value, they point in towards each other, they overlap in the middle. Do you remember all that? All right, so anyway, so we have two inequalities. So we have y is less than 3, and we have y is greater than or equal, or greater than -3. So less than 3, let's draw a horizontal line. Oops, it's dotted, right? Horizontal line through 3. You're going to be everything below that. And greater than -3, so draw your horizontal line through -3, and you're going to have everything above that. So we end up getting this like rectangular strip that's shaded. Do you guys see that? It's lower than 3, but higher than -3. So it ends up being everything here. So I'm going to do my final area. So remember, we're on the left of the x, so don't go past the x shape. Your final area is like right there. It's really hard to shade. Lots of shading going on. Does that make sense? All right, so at this point, you guys should be like, gosh, there's so much shading. What if I mess it up? I'm going to have to erase. It's going to be annoying. Yep.
So you don't shade the whole area in between two.
No. Well, you could shade that, but the final answer is just that part, right? So that's less than 3, y is greater than -3. All right, so you're probably getting sick of shading at this point. So I'm going to show you a shortcut for the next one. So you don't have to shade everything. You just kind of have to remember where everything is. Okay, so this first one, I have 2x minus y is greater than or equal to -1. So I have 2x minus y is greater than or equal to -1. I'm going to subtract the 2x over. and I divide by -1. Remember, that's the red flag rule. So y is less than or equal to 2x plus 1. That's the first one. So I graph that first thing. So I go up 1. I'm going to go right 2, or up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. It's solid. Oh, man. And notice how I said find the coordinates of the vertices. So I'm going to keep going for a while, because sometimes that's going to help find the vertices for the next one. And I'm going to draw it in really careful with my ruler. Mine's still wobbly. Okay, that's the first one. Now think about where the shading is. Okay, if you have y is less than or equal to 2x plus 1, it's going to be below. All right, so don't do the shading, just kind of do this. Less than, below the line. You see it? So now I'm going to be on the right side. All right, now the next one. So I have x plus y is less than or equal to 4. So that's going to be y is less than or equal to negative x plus 4. So I go up to 4. So up 1, 2, 3, 4. I go down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. Okay, and that's solid as well. Like that. All right, now think about where that shading is. It's less than that line, so less than means below the line, so it's this way. So we currently have an X shape, and we're going to be shading right now. The overlapping area is in the bottom of the X. Does everybody see that? So right at the first one, below the second one, so in the bottom part of the X. All right, so always think about that. So right now I'm in the bottom part of the X. All right, so now the last one. So x plus 4y is greater than or equal to 4. All right, subtract the x over. Divide by 4. So you get y is greater than or equal to negative 1/4 x plus 1, right? Negative x over 4 is negative 1/4 x. So now I'm going to go up to the point 0, 1, which is the same point that we had before for a y-intercept. And I'm going to go down 1, right 1, or down 1, right 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's over here, which is convenient. It's going through that point. So before we were in the bottom part of the X. Now this one's going to be greater than or equal to. So do you guys see the final little tiny shaded area? It's this little tiny triangle. That's it. All right, so usually when I have things like this in the end, I write A, B, C, and it doesn't matter which ones are your points, A, B, C. So just mark any of the vertices, and then I write what those are. So A was the point 1, 3, B was 4, 0, C was 0, 1. So those 3 points are your corner points, your vertices of the triangle. Yeah.
So for the test, you only want to shade in that triangle?
Yeah, it's up to you. You could do more shading if you want, but I want to see that kind of like the darkest if you're doing more shading. All right. All right, story problem. This is a little bit confusing for those of you that don't know football. So I'm going to have you guys explain it for the non-football people. Okay, so it says in 2003, LaDainian Tomlinson led the NFL in yards from scrimmage. Okay, so yards from scrimmage is a combination of rushing yards and receiving yards. Okay, so this is like we're speaking Greek to the people that don't know football. So let's explain this. Rushing yards, what does that mean? Running with the ball, right? So you're running, you're holding the ball, so it's called rushing. All right, receiving yards, what are you doing? You're running and then catching the ball, right? Does that make sense? So someone's passing it to you. So you're getting the yards from running. Does that make sense? So you ran a certain amount. Let's say you ran 40 yards and then you caught it, right? You get 40 yards added to your yards from scrimmage. All right, so yards from scrimmage is going to be adding rushing yards and receiving yards. So he had a total of 2370 yards from scrimmage. So let's do rushing, receiving, and then total. So that's going to be yards from scrimmage. So he has 2370 here. And it said including 1645 rushing yards. So that's a lot. All right, so you could easily figure out how many receiving yards he has. What would you do? Subtract, right? So you're going to get 725 when you subtract. All right, so then we have Jamal Lewis. So that's the runner-up that year. All right, and he had fewer yards from scrimmage, but more rushing yards. So write a system of inequalities that models the possible rushing and receiving yards for Jamal Lewis. So X is going to be the number for his rushing yards. Y is going to be his receiving yards. So his total is going to be X plus Y, right? So our system of inequalities, which are all braced, which you guys love drawing, it says that he had fewer yards from scrimmage. So fewer yards from scrimmage means that his total is going to be less than LT's. So X plus Y is going to be less than 2370. But he had more rushing yards. So X is going to be greater than 1645. That's going to be your system of inequalities. Okay, so you can graph that if you want. You can find out all the possibilities. This one I think is interesting because if you do graph it, so X is less than 1645 is going to be like here. And the other one ends up being like a line that looks like this. So you're below that. So I was like, oh, but you also have the implied X is bigger than 0, Y is bigger than 0. And then I thought, oh, wait, you don't. Because if you guys have ever had a fantasy football team, sometimes people get negative yards. Did you guys know that? So what happens? How can someone get negative yards? If they fumble, if they go backwards. So in the other class, someone was like, why would they run backwards? I was like, maybe because they have like a 400-pound person running at them, like trying to tackle them. Right? Kind of scary. No, they run backwards because they think that maybe they can throw to someone or they can get around, and they don't. So yeah, if they run backwards and they get tackled, then you get negative yards. So this would actually be the correct. You wouldn't have bigger than 0, bigger than 0. So it would look something like that. All right, so for the rest of the time, you guys can work on your homework. Please work on your homework. You have plenty of time.